Hey there, this is Mike and Jamie bringing you Flex Academy Episode 6, Pre-Selling Your Coworking Space. We've already gone over many of the essentials on getting your coworking space started, but today we're going to talk about some of the final months before launch and give you some ideas on how you can start selling memberships and offices at your space before you even open. And with that, let's dive right in. Jamie, why don't you take it away?
Okay, Michael, I love this topic. I talk about this topic in my masterclass because I find that it's super, super critical to be thinking about pre-selling memberships to your co-working space. But by the time, I love this photo on the screen, because by the time you get to that point where it's time to start pre-selling, right, you're in the middle of construction, you're making a whole bunch of decisions, you're finalizing your furniture, you're like,
Yep.
Drinking from a fire hose. And so what does everybody forget to do?
The final countdown.
Yeah, totally. And, you're in the midst of making all these decisions that are totally new to you. And you are in the back of your head starting to get very anxious about getting members. But sometimes I think folks, sort of just prioritize everything else and then run out of time for pre-selling. But It's super, super important. So my best advice, in addition to some of the other things we're going to cover today, is make it a priority. Got to figure out how to make time for it.
You're absolutely so right. And the reason why that's so important is because, as we have on the slide, you have bills that you have to pay on day one. Before you've even opened, you're likely going to start paying some reoccurring bills. These will include rent, payroll, internet charges, kitchen supplies, and the list goes on. And again, that's before you've even opened the doors on day one. So I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to let you know that
maybe
you need
a little
to start
bit.
thinking. Yeah, maybe a little bit, get a little fear in you. But no, you need to try to start generating revenue or taking deposits before your doors are even open. And there's a couple ways that we've seen successful spaces do that. And so that's what we're going to start talking about today to give you some ideas about how you can move forward with that. Selling memberships ahead of time can really help offset these bills and get you started on the right foot. A stat I like to throw out there is, obviously you most likely, unless you're extremely successful, will not start out in the first month cash flow positive. And that's okay. On average, it takes spaces sometimes up to 18 months just to get cash flow positive. And again, I'm not trying to scare you, but you need to keep that in mind and be realistic as you open your space. Our goal is to make it so that negative cash number is as low as possible. And then eventually, through your memberships and sales, you do get cash flow positive. So I just wanted to start off by saying that before we get into some of these ideas, just to really emphasize how important it is that you start pre-selling before you even open.
In pre-selling, I would just add one quick note to that. While you're filling maybe 10%, maybe 20% of your space, during that like kind of pre-sell phase, it's also building your pipeline and your momentum. So I think you're going to start to jump into some of the tactics that you can use for pre-sale, but those also carry into your overall sales process. So I also will put a plug in for some of the other content in our series, because we talk about your real estate deal. And what you just said about it might take 18 months to get to stabilization. Your real estate deal and negotiating free rent is going to play a big part in how soon you can get to cash flow positive. So if you haven't watched the other videos in this series, definitely go back and do that.
Yep. Or if you're on something like a management agreement, you might not even necessarily be worrying about that immediately. So again, that's a great episode to get your feet wet, understanding how some of those deals work and how they might play into your cash flow situation. Great. So we are going to hop into the next slide and start getting a little more tactical about some pre-selling tactics that you should consider as an operator. We mentioned this briefly in our last episode talking about tech and tools, but building a quality website or landing page in advance is really crucial for pre-selling your inventory. Unfortunately, this is an area I've seen where many operators fall short because they forget to do it. They're so worried about opening the physical space. This comes secondary. But put simply, if you don't have a co-working website ready, it's going to be really, really hard to effectively sell your memberships. Even after people have come and taken a tour, they want to confirm their findings and see your space on a website. We know websites can take weeks or months to get built. So if you don't have the time to do that, we recommend potentially creating just a landing page. You can create a landing page on something like Wix or Squarespace for free and get that set up relatively quickly. Of course, people like to see if you have any renderings of your space, if it's still in construction phase. People like to see photos, beautiful space photos or renderings. Or even if you're still in construction, people like to see that as well. We'll get more into that later with the hard hat tours. But buyers love the photos, and it's going to help them kind of associate and decide on that space. So definitely making sure that your website is set up or a landing page is set up before you open is going to be important to effectively sell those memberships and offices. The next thing that you can do is participate in local events and groups. Depending on the clients that you want to attract, there might be some nearby meetups that you can join. I fondly remember going and joining our local Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, sitting in on those meetings, meeting all different sorts of people. And many of them had never heard of co-working before. This was probably 6-7 years ago. And still, it is still a new concept to some. But remember, as we've said before, co-working is hyper local, and you want to find people that are local to your community, and the local Chamber of Commerce is a great place to do that. Another place you can go to is local coffee shops. A lot of coffee shops actually have like community pinup boards where you can go and pin different advertisements and stuff and put them there. So I remember putting those little like pull tabs, the little tabs where you rip them off a piece of paper with numbers. So I put those in our local coffee shop, the Starbucks. They let me do it, and it worked out great. We got a couple leads from there as well. So looking at local events and groups are a great way to get those hyper local customers and bringing them into your co-working space. And as you're doing this stuff, as you're building the website, as you're going to these local events, you really need to start building an email list. You're going to be meeting a lot of new faces, and you'll end up with a lot of new names, business cards, and email addresses. And you need to start collecting those. This list is the foundation from which you will create anticipation. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but that does work. The sooner you start building it, the better you will be set up. There's tons of different email marketing tools. I used MailChimp in my space. They have a free plan where you can start creating really beautiful branded emails and send, this is a great place where you can start sending out construction updates or opening day updates or even launch party updates. We'll talk about that in a little while, but your email list will continue to be important post-launch, but it's super important to start building it before you launch. So that you have a marketing base that you can start communicating all the benefits of your space to. Those are a few things that can be helpful. Jamie, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah. So one of the members of I was thinking about you, one of the members of our Community Manager University program asked in our Slack group, okay, so if I had to prioritize, would I pick the marketing module in ActiveCampaign or the sales CRM module? And I was like, both.
yeah, both together.
He's also pre-launch. I was like, this is tricky because the sales module is for you to manage like those one-to-one relationships, people who actually book tours. But at the same time, when you're pre-selling, you need to build, as you've said, an email list and start sending those updates. Yeah. And really sending your pipeline and nurturing folks. As you said, there are still markets where people don't know about co-working. And so you want to sort of do a slow build, get them excited, show them what it's like, show them photos of your space. And I would say, don't feel like you have to show, like, to your point, sort of the end, everything's all wrapped up in a bow, right? Like, show them the work in progress. You'll have members, and this kind of goes into the founding member offer. You'll have a segment of folks that, especially if it's more about like a hyper local space, that would get excited about being part of the early membership, about sort of being some of the first who are in the space. Yep. So That won't be everybody, but there will be those people. We had a member we used to call the mayor of the space, who wanted to like greet everybody and meet all the new members. And he was one
I
of
feel
our
like
very
every
first.
space has one of those.
Totally.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. No, but I
Yeah.
mean, you're right. They have a sense of ownership and pride by being a
Yeah.
founding member of that community, and they want to generally help welcome others. So no, you're completely right with those.
Yeah.
Founding
It's like
members.
that early adopter mindset. And so
Yeah.
create some offers to give them that feeling that they're getting something special for being first. And we could do a whole episode on this, as we often say, but a couple of things to think about. You can do something that's monetary, like a founding member discount. You want to create that sense of sort of ownership and I'm first, and then B, maybe a little bit of sense of scarcity and urgency to get people to sign up early. Because you have to kind of give them a reason to not just wait until you're open and everything's all done. You're trying to get some cash in the door and get some members secured. So it might be a pricing discount that ends. It might be like a prepay offer. So there might be some dollar amount on the discount front. And then you should definitely have an end date for it so that people feel like, okay, I've got to make this decision. And I got to make it soon to get these offers. So it might be a discount or it might be some sort of bonus. I remember Mike, one of the members of our flight group program, did like this amazing founding members lunch, like a month after they'd opened, and they had some other bonuses, like maybe some extra meeting room time, or founding members can host an event for free. You can really get creative and figure out kind of what that bundle looks like. So, or maybe it's a combination of a bonus and a discount. Don't go too hard on the discounts though, because you don't want to attract people who only want to be members because they're getting that extra cheap price.
Exactly.
And you have to, stay true to your pro forma and your pricing. So I like the idea of bonuses. And then also, again, back to that segment that gets excited about, getting to be a part of something from the ground up, don't hesitate to do hard hat tours. I do love the idea of having renderings because it can be hard for people to visualize what a space looks like before it's open. You can get inexpensive renderings done on Upwork or Fiverr. We have had folks who have gotten really amazingly realistic. I remember the Post had the Post workspaces in Tucson. They had some renderings. I was like, wow, they were super realistic. They can go a long way as an asset for your landing page, for your emails, and to put up as posters for your hard hat tours. So just kind of a little pro tip there. But I know people have done like champagne, hard hat tours.
If you have your floor plan. I mean, I remember when we were opening our location in Augusta, we just had a floor plan. We had a few renderings, but if you have someone that's a really good salesperson and good at giving tours, you literally can just walk through a place and sell a vision with the floor plan. And I mean, a lot of these spaces, sometimes they'll have pre-sold a large amount of their offices when nothing's even built. And it's always great to start out your launch like that. Doesn't happen always, but it definitely can happen.
One other sort of scarcity approach to use is you're going to have a limited number of window offices, and lots of folks really want those window offices or a corner window office. So with the floor plan, you could, kind of highlight these are going to go quickly. So if you're looking for a 2-person window office, get yours locked in. And another thing that folks tend to kind of get distracted and not do early is setting up their space management platform so they can take deposits.
Yeah.
You really want to seal the deal while you've got your landing page, your email offers that are going out, your hard hat tours. You want to give people a call to action, which is put a deposit down. So you can take a deposit and not actually take a full payment if you want, and have the payment date set for when you open. You do want to be a little bit careful. You don't want to do this too early in case of construction delays, which certainly can happen. But you want to get a deposit in the door so that people are really mentally committed and financially committed. And you get a little something from them. So you want to get, if you're using OfficeRND, for example, you want to get your plan set up and get your pricing set up and take that deposit, early. So make sure you're focused on that. And that's something, you can hire a community manager and have them work on it. But I've worked with folks who are doing the hard hat tours, but they have no way to take people's money.
Yeah. No,
like
so
you got to get that set up.
Yeah, you can get people all set up in the back end with start dates when your open date. So the first day that you open, you charge all of those invoices and those first month, you prorate that first month rent. and you can have money coming in the door the very first day without having to do much work because you set everyone up ahead of time.
Yeah.
Versus trying to get that started, in those co-working management after you launch. You're collecting rent physically, you're having them do bank transfers. It gets really messy quick.
Totally.
So definitely getting your management software set up prior to opening is going to get you really set up on the right foot.
Yep, exactly. And then one other approach I would mention, if you're in a larger market, this may be a little less relevant in a smaller market, but if you have a lot of offices to fill, for example, I just was going through a test fit with a group in Florida. They have 10,000 square feet. They have 41 offices in that space, which is pretty dense. Yeah, I know it's a pretty dense office layout, but that's a lot of offices to fill. And so you may have local commercial office brokers who have clients that are looking for smaller offices or a team suite. And you can let them know, reach out to them. You might have to offer them a little something to swing by. Michael, you might even have a little bit to add on this one.
I want to say
do
that
an
we
open
gave them
house.
10% on the
Gift
first
card.
year or something.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it just depends, but yeah, that's how they make their money. That's how they're used to doing it.
Yes.
But again,
10% on the first year is pretty industry standard, but you might even have to bribe them with some booze and snacks just to come over and see the space and, kind of get to know your product and get to know your team. But they can be a great source of leads, and they're often overlooked. So definitely get some referrals. The chamber might be a good place to start. Ask some friends, who are the local brokers to start with, or even just call your local like CBRE, Jones Lang LaSalle, Cushman. Call those offices and let them know
you're an option
opening.
Because because sometimes when a tenant doesn't fit in another space, you could be a great place for them. Or if, their office they're looking at isn't going to be ready for 6 months to a year, they can park them at your co-working space or whatnot. But you're a great option that they can use to set some of their tenants. And then, the very final one that we'd like to talk about is probably the most fun, and that's throwing a grand opening party. You can do things like have like a countdown on your website or a timer or in your email announcements to let people know. But this is a really great way to get all of that initial energy in one place and really show off kind of the fruit of your labor after working on this for as long as you've been planning, building, getting it ready. And it's really good opportunity to have fun as well as sales opportunities as well. I remember at our grand openings, we do things like raffles for memberships. I invited my family, my close friends, just to kind of show them what we've been up to. And again, it makes the space look more busy, and it's an opportunity to have some food, have a few drinks, and just get excited about this space that you're about to open.
Get some great photos, promote your founding member offers. Yeah,
100%. You can also potentially even partner with local businesses that want to like do booths or promote services, whether it's marketing companies or accounting companies or all of those different auxiliary companies that people inside your co-working space will need. This is an opportunity for them to kind of meet with some of those other members, get your founding members, and get excited about the launch of your space. One thing that I will say is that we recommend doing the grand opening party a couple weeks after your soft launch. A soft launch is when you open the door and maybe let the first few members in to get started. But that's a whole thing in and of itself, like getting all the fire codes and all your codes finalized so that people can start using your space. So we recommend being open for a few weeks, maybe even a month before you have your grand opening party. That ensures that you have some members to help kind of seed the party and get it started. But we recommend having a soft launch a couple weeks before the grand opening party. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Do not do a soft launch and grand opening on the same day, or it's going to be very stressful. I promise you.
Great tip.
All right. Well, then with that, we'll move on to the next slide. And talking about marketing tactics. So I'm going to start out talking a little bit about digital and a little bit of traditional advertising. It really, really helps to start building some Google or Facebook ads to target users in your local location and drive them to your site, both your physical co-working space and your website. These are traditionally much cheaper than different advertising methods, and you can be very specific in the type of people that you are targeting. We don't have enough time to get into it fully today. We always say this, we could spend a whole episode talking about Google ads and Facebook marketing. We might do that in the future. But yeah, it's definitely something that you should look into for your space. Also, I mean, don't forget about traditional advertising like physical signage. If there's opportunity for a sign on your building or in the lobby of your building, always a great way. Car traffic driving
Sidewalk
by your building.
sign, totally.
Yeah. Don't forget about that. And then you could obviously try sending out mailers. I've tried that with pretty limited results, but I hear it works for some people. But yeah, definitely recommend doing that in the weeks leading up to launch, months leading up to launch, so that you can start generating some buzz in your area.
Yeah, I love, so there's sort of the paid ad bucket and then the organic ad bucket, both of which can be really important to support your launch. And this is another thing I talk about all the time. You have to get your Google business listing up ASAP. Someone was asking in our Facebook group yesterday, who actually is one of our startup school members. And he was like, I'm not getting the leads yet. And I did a quick search and I was like, I don't see you coming up on the, results yet. And he's like, I know we're there, but we're way down, the list. He's like, we're working on our reviews. So it takes time. The organic, listings take time, but your Google business listing, like 80% of your traffic will come through your Google business listing. So you need to get that up quickly, as soon as you can receive mail, as soon as you can kind of get that all, you've got your signage up and you can get verified. And you might need to run the Google ads until your organic listing starts to move up on the list. Because if it's too far down, nobody's going to see it. And if people are doing a local search, that Google business listing is really how they're going to see you. So really, really prioritize getting that up and then posting to it consistently. And then these other two things we could go on and on and on about. So I'm going to try to keep this short. You want to really, again, this is part of the whole sort of pre-sale process that can be really hard to make yourself sit down and map this out, but you want to create your sales funnel and your customer journey. So I think Mike and I, this is probably one of those things we need to do a couple of videos on, but you want to think about, okay, what is the customer journey? What does it look like from when they, think about joining a co-working space to when they find us online, to when they book a tour, to when they come in, to what your email sequence follow-up looks like? How do you get them to become a member? What does your sort of nurture approach look like? And you want to have the technology in place to support that. And you want to train your team. So I'm kind of combining these last two bullets. You want to make sure that your local team, so probably your community manager or your operations manager or a sales manager that's either at your location, eventually that might be sort of a centralized function, but that they're really super clear on their role in that sales funnel and how they support it. What emails are they sending? Mike, I remember, you had like a really specific, you had a tour script and you had a map and you went through the location in a certain way. And you kind of map that out and then train the team on what that looks like, because you felt like there was like a really,
you want a
kind of way to
sales
do that.
experience. Yeah. You want a consistent sales experience, talking about your best highlights and knowing how to talk about certain products for certain personas that come through looking for those. So yeah, that's so important. And while you may know it by heart as the owner or the operator, you got to make sure your community manager or the person manning the front desk knows it as well, because they're going to give the vast majority of the tours. Even if you try to plan to give them, people will just walk into your space and be interested and want a tour. So those are some hopefully some helpful marketing tactics to get in place before your opening. And with these tactics, we hope that you're able to start pre-selling some of those memberships and offices before you even open on day one. And so with that, I will go on to the final slide. We're excited to say that we've concluded, after 6 episodes, the getting started portion of Flex Academy. We plan to continue the series with this next section being focused on managing co-working operations. That covers a variety of topics, but definitely stay tuned over the next couple weeks and keep us posted. Let us know how you like these, like, comment below. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. And with that, this is Mike and Jamie signing off. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.